Slahayam. Have you heard that language before? Probably not. The reason for that? Most Native American languages have been eradicated throughout history, which poses as a major issue for indigenous peoples who are trying to keep their culture alive. However, before I get more in depth with that, I would like to share with you a brief history of those languages. Before the colonization of the area known as U.S. soil, there were over 300 Native American languages spoken. Upon the arrival of Europeans, English came in and was forced onto indigenous peoples. In an attempt to eliminate their cultures, the government pulled Native Americans from their homelands and forcibly integrated them into educational programs where many languages were lost. The peoples were punished when they spoke in their native tongue. It wasn't until 1972, when the Indian Education Act was passed, that this horrendous activity was finally dealt with. That act legalized the teaching of indigenous languages and began the much-needed revitalization process. Revitalization began to grow stronger with the passage of the Native American Languages Act in 1990, which was created to preserve, protect, and promote the right to use indigenous languages. The history of Native Americans is very brutal and has led to some major issues around their languages. The first issue is that of those 300 plus languages that were spoken before colonialism, less than 150 remain. Only 8 years ago, in 2011, the most commonly spoken Native American languages were Navajo, Cree, Ojibwe, Inuktitut, Yupik, Dakota, and Cherokee. That's only 7 languages of what was once over 300. Even more surprising is that within a national population over 300 million people in 2011, less than 170,000 of those people spoke Navajo. Another issue is simply that very few Native American languages were recorded. The reason for that was simply that most Native communities learned the language through the stories passed down from their ancestors. When an elder spoke, the people listened and learned. Without those recordings, people continued to look to the few remaining fluent speakers of those languages, their elders. However, life does have an end, and many of those elders are reaching that point. Their deaths take yet another fluent speaker from the world, and unless the time was taken to record their language dies with them. With the loss of fluent elders comes a shift in responsibility. Now it is up to those that have limited knowledge of the language themselves to teach the fading languages of their ancestors. Unfortunately, those that are teaching it now are often still in the process of learning it themselves and are doing so with very few resources. Some people question why all of this matters. The struggles faced by Native American languages are struggles faced by the Native American cultures. In these communities, language is the way that history and culture is passed down throughout the generations. Things like basket weaving, the sewing of regalia, and the making of fry bread were taught orally. Caring about this information is caring about the fact that there are already so many cultures that have become extinct and lost to history. The care shown towards this helps decrease the chances of this culture fading into history like so many others have. Understanding this situation is supporting the idea that everyone deserves to be treated with respect and dignity. We end up being one step closer to creating equality in a world that has so little. Being knowledgeable about the state of Native American languages, you have the ability to make a difference and help create the much-needed support for this community. Identifying as a Native American woman and as a member of the Confederated Tribe of Siletz Indians, I thank you for listening and showing your support. Ashli!